Around 3 o'clock each day, Pat Cavendish O'Neill, now 87 years old, shuffles up the path at her home in Somerset West to visit her best friend, Cavendish.
No, that's not for you yet. It's not for you yet. I can have a big kiss. Can I have a big kiss? Big kiss.
You still visit Cavendish every day?
You know, she loves me. And if I don't, and I go in there the next day, and she turns her back on me, won't come near me and just picks her nose, you know.
Pat is an aristocrat and eccentric whose high society mother left her a fortune. But Pat shunned the glamour of Europe for a life in Africa with her animals. She's just completed a book about her life and the antics of her chimp.
Now at the age of 87, I'm lying here, still on the beautiful soil of Africa, under the shade of a large pine tree, wrapped in the hairy arms of my beloved chimpanzee.
Cavendish arrived in South Africa, rescued from the Congo as a youngster. Her first 3 months were spent in quarantine in this cage above the wine cellar.
She used to watch the people coming in and out, you see, with carrying the wine.
At the time, the cage had a wooden floor.
When she was let out, she hid a saw and then sawed her way through. No,
so you found a very drunk chimp the next morning.
And she was so drunk, you can't imagine. And she had a terrible hangover, and she was pouring water onto her head like that. She wouldn't even kiss me, you know. Too much. She was in too much pain.
We've come to Broadlands, and there are dogs everywhere. Cats, birds, outside there are ducks, geese and peacocks. You name it. But this is nothing compared to the way it used to be.
The sign outside her home still stands, warning guests that they are about to enter an unusual household. Broadlands, which she once shared mostly with her mother and their racehorses, once stretched across the N2 all the way to Gordons Bay.
The privilege and splendor of the life that Pat was born into today seems like a period drama. Footmen, ladies in waiting. There was a 100-room mansion and certainly no expense spared as her beautiful mother traveled the world following the sun.
Her mother loved casinos and style and consorted with princes and kings. The rich and the famous came to her magnificent home in the south of France. She traveled extensively, and wherever she went, she broke men's hearts.
Some men did commit suicide over your mother.
Yes, they did, yeah. 2 that I know of.
Really? What happened?
One threw herself into the sea in Sydney because she wouldn't marry him, and another threw himself under a train.
All 4 of Pat's mother's husbands died. 2 left her vast fortunes. Pat's father, General Cavendish, fought in the Boer War and died when Pat was only 6.
But it was her mother's next husband, Viscount Furness, who took her into a life of almost obscene excess.
Viscount Furness was one of the richest men in the world at the time.
And he wouldn't ever go on public transport, so he had his own train with his own station. He had 2 ocean-going liners. He had his own private airplane.
And when he took them on safari to Kenya, it was a grand affair.
His whole safaris had to be Rolls Royces.
Sounds like a meticulous character. Used to have his shoelaces ironed, is that true?
Yes. He was extraordinary.
Pat's mother taught her 3 things. Never be afraid, never complain if you're ill, and never be jealous. And that possibly explains her unusual attitude when it comes to the fidelity, or, as it happens, infidelity, of her own husbands.
Pat married Olympic swimming star Frank O'Neill, but divorced him 4 years later. She didn't want to live in Australia and felt stifled.
And Frank was having affairs all over the place.
Oh yes,
Never got to you.
Frankly, yeah. All my friends went to bed with him.
But you were never jealous?
No.
17 years later, she remarried him. They're still married, but Frank now lives in Australia with his girlfriend. Perhaps he got tired of his beer and cigarettes being stolen.
Pat, it was reported once that Frank got nothing and Cavendish inherited 40 million.
Made headlines in Australia. My whole thing was, when I die, it's the animals I want looked after. Frank can look after himself, After all, he had enough girlfriends.
And his many girlfriends.
He had enough girlfriends. He rushed to his assistant.
If her marriages didn't work out, it didn't seem to matter too much to Pat. She was about to start an affair that would change her life completely. On a visit to Kenya, she was handed a tiny lion cub called Tana.
I brought her up in bed with my dogs, and I had a lovely little Thompson gazelle, and she was free to do whatever she liked.
They developed an extrasensory way of communicating. When Tana brought her cubs home to Pat's lodge in Meru, where she used to share her bed, Pat coaxed her lion back to the bush.
I used to go to see her every day, and she always knew when I was coming, because they move around quite a bit, and she was always waiting for me.